All right, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Tonight we have a webinar about immigrant resources and know your rights during this time of COVID-19. And we are proud to present Anna Timu, who is our immigration campaign coordinator. Anna is a community activist, political strategist, and coffee maniac. I can attest to that personally. She's a first generation citizen and she knows the hardship that immigrants face in this country, which is why she started becoming politically engaged through immigrant rights activism, helping pass countless pro-immigrant bills in the state, funded a scholarship fund for undocumented students in Boulder County, and worked on immigration reform at the national level with United We Dream. We are so proud to have Anna with us tonight, and she is going to take it away and tell us all about the amazing resources she has found over the last couple of weeks since this crisis began.
Thank you, Delana. I am going to start by sharing my screen so we can all see this PowerPoint presentation that we're going to be going through tonight. So thank you all so much for being here. Again, my name is Anna Temu Aring. I am the Immigration Campaign Coordinator at the ACLU of Colorado, and I am humbled and honored to have all of you here tonight. So tonight, I want to start by dedicating this webinar and the resources we're about to share and all of the work that we are doing to bring relief to undocumented folks, to all the farm workers out there, like my stepfather and uncles that have been unsung heroes in this pandemic, ensuring that we all have food at our grocery stores and at our food banks. And I want to channel their resilience and persistence to be our own to get us through these times. So today our goal is going to be to share out all of the materials that we've gathered over the last few weeks. And we want for our neighbors to be able to receive all of the help that we can possibly give them. And so our agenda tonight is we're going to go over some of the COVID impacts on the undocumented community, some general overview, large picture things. We're going to go over some government benefits that immigrants and undocumented folks can or can't apply for or receive. We're going to go over some enforcement resources, know your rights, and then at the end, we will open it up for Q&A, just in case we don't touch anything in the prepared presentation that we have for you tonight. So going through, and then once we get to the Q&A, Delana will guide us through all of the logistics of getting your questions heard. At the bottom of your Zoom, there should be a questions, or on the side, depending on what kind of interface you're working with. There should be a questions section where you can ask those. Please use the questions area to make all of your questions as we go through the presentation slides. So some of the COVID impacts, I would like to go over some general information regarding COVID-19 and how it impacts the immigrant and undocumented community. We know that Governor Polis put into effect a stay-at-home order, which he extended yesterday through April 26th, with a Denver stay-at-home order through April 30th. And this opens the door for a lot of questions, and one of the first ones being, when can I leave home? And we know that people can leave home when they are seeking out healthcare services, when they are taking care of their family, they are taking care of a household and animals. They can leave their home when they are going to go get food, groceries, and other supplies that they need. And they can also leave home when it is certain work-related activities. And so what type of work can I do away from home? some of the work that you're able to do away from home is if you're in certain businesses or government functions, including healthcare, manufacturing of medical items and drugs, construction, utilities, road work, oil and gas, water, transportation, retail like grocery stores, gas stations, restaurants, and the restaurants for takeout and delivery only, liquor stores, dispensaries, hardware stores. This also includes farming and food manufacturing, processing, hotels, shelters, places that serve the needy, services like cleaning, maintenance, trash, mail and shipping, laundry, childcare, warehouse and distribution, electricians and plumbers. And it also includes professional services like banking and legal, and finally, auto and bicycle services. And some of the government benefits, I know that we've been hearing a lot of, a stimulus, applying for unemployment, a lot of things that the federal government is trying to do right now for folks that are at home and can't go to work. And this opens up the questions for undocumented people of, I am no longer working, can I apply for unemployment? And the answer to this is that some non-citizens, I apologize, are eligible to apply for unemployment benefits. The Colorado Employment Security Act includes the following categories of eligible people. It includes lawful permanent residents, LPRs, or green card holders. It includes people with work authorizations, DACA recipients, and others who have been granted deferred action. It includes refugees, conditional entrance refugees, refugee parolees, and people granted asylum. It includes VAWA recipients, and it also includes agricultural workers. Some things that I do want to go through about the CARES Act that I want to make sure we go through this extensively, because I'm sure there are questions that people have of like, can I get it if I'm in a mixed status family? Can I get it if, X, Y, and Z? And so we're going to try to go through all of the eligibilities for this rebate. So unfortunately, the CARES Act includes a social security number requirement that will exclude many immigrant and mixed immigration status families from receiving this financial assistance. The eligibility for the $1,000, $2,400 recovery rate is as followed. And I will stop here, and I will make a note that if you received the link to this webinar, I also included a link to a Dropbox where you can follow along to the PowerPoint presentation in a different format or a different way if that is your learning style. I have also included links to all of the slides that I'm using. And so if you have questions, if you need deeper answers to what we are talking about today, I have given you all of the resources and all of the sources of where I found all of this information. And so if you leave here having more questions than what I can answer, just know that I have included absolutely everything in that Dropbox and in those links. So going back to some of the rebate, the eligibility for the rebate, this includes individual filers and couples filing jointly that must have been issued a social security number that are valid for employment by the time that they file their qualifying return. There is an exception if at least one spouse filing jointly was in the armed forces last tax year, as long as the one spouse has a valid social security number. Children claimed as dependents for the $500 rebate must also have a social security number. If both parents in a married couple used an individual taxpayer identification number, also known as an ITIN, to file their taxes, no one in the household is eligible for the return, regardless of whether they file jointly. For mixed immigrant status married taxpayers, where only one taxpayer has a social security number and the other taxpayer has an ITIN, the couple would need to file separately in order to claim the rebate for any eligible household members. However, filing separately may render a person ineligible for the Affordable Care Act subsidies that may be larger than what the recovery rebate is offering. So if you are in this questionable tax status, we recommend just talking to a professional tax preparer before filing this year's taxes. To receive the rebate, taxpayers and any children claimed will also need to be what they call quote unquote resident aliens, which basically means that if you are not a US citizen or a lawful permanent resident, they reside primarily in the US. And there are also the questions of, if I apply for unemployment benefits, does that make me a public charge when I go and further apply for a different status? And the answer is no. USCIS does not consider unemployment benefits as a public charge because it's considered an earned benefit. You have been working to pay into unemployment and you have earned unemployment. And then same goes for if I go to a food bank, which we will go over some of those resources later. Is that considered a public charge? And the answer is no. Life-saving food and nutritional programs like WIC, CHIP, school lunches, food banks, shelters, childcare assistance, state and locally funded healthcare, and many more programs are not included in the public charge test. So some enforcement. I know that when we start talking about staying at home and not being able to go out, one of the first questions that my family members started asking me was, if I need to go to the grocery store, are they going to stop me and are they going to question me? And there was a really big sense of panic of whether or not they could trust law enforcement to go to the grocery store. And so I want to make sure that we go through some of those questions that may be coming up for folks. So the first one is, if this stay-at-home order is being enforced, and what you can do if you are pulled over. The Colorado State Patrol has emphasized that their troopers are not conducting checkpoints, and other law enforcement across the state have not reported doing so either. However, there have been reports of several incidents across the Front Range where people are impersonating police, pulling people over, making checkpoints. They have their personal red lights that they have going on in their cars, accusing drivers of violating the stay-at-home order. These folks, just want to briefly go over, they're usually seen in all black. They're wearing neon vests. They are in baseball caps. Some of the main places where they have been seen and spotted have been in areas like Weld County, El Paso County, some more conservative-leaning counties that just are seeing a lot more of these police impersonators trying to conduct their own checkpoints, pretending like they are law enforcement. And so what can you do if you are pulled over, or if you come across a police impersonator? If you feel comfortable enough calling 911, to make sure that whoever is pulling you over is actually a member of law enforcement and that it is a legit checkpoint stop that they are conducting. But if you are a non-English speaker and you still need to go to work and you're scared that you might get pulled over, one of the things that you should be doing right now is getting a letter either from your employer saying that you are an essential worker, that the business that they conduct is an essential business, and that that is where you are going. If they have work badges, showing your work badge. And we also have, we've worked with some attorneys' offices to create a letter of our own in case an employer does not give you a letter that says, I do not speak English. I am following the stay-at-home order and I am performing an essential task. If you want to know exactly what it is that I am doing, here is a contact for a family member that does speak English and can speak to the task that I am currently doing. And again, that link to that letter is in the webinar's link document that was shared out with the Zoom link. And then just to make sure that you don't get pulled over, we know that police are pulling over folks for the regular, you're speeding, you have a taillight out, you are violating some sort of traffic law. And so just make sure that you're following all of the traffic laws. You're not going over the speed limit. You have working taillights, headlights, brake lights. Your license plate tags are current. You're driving with a valid driver's license. You have insurance on your vehicle, and you have the current registration. Some resources. I know that a lot of folks want to have these resources and might have specific questions as to a specific resource that they're looking for, that they want to find. And I wish we had the time to go through all of the resources that we've found. But what we can equip you with tonight is a place to find all of the resources that you are looking for. So one of the biggest questions that we've been getting is, where can I find safe medical care? We've had some amazing organizations across the state putting together several clinics that are offering either free or low-cost services to uninsured immigrants and undocumented people. Clínica Colorado is offering free telehealth appointments to people. You know, you just go, you make a virtual appointment. You are able to make a telehealth, a virtual health appointment with Clínica Colorado. And another question that folks have is around safe medical care. And getting there and getting the care that they need and not being worried about getting picked up by ICE. And that is a real fear that a lot of people have, because they're not trusting of, if I'm driving down the street and I'm going to the hospital, or if I'm at the hospital, or if I'm going back home from a healthcare provider and I get picked up by ICE, what can I do? And so one of the most important pieces of information for folks is to know that ICE has released, that ICE has released new guidance on where they will be conducting some of their operations and where they will not be conducting their operations. And ICE is working to avoid making arrests at what they consider sensitive locations, like healthcare facilities, schools, places of worship, the doctor's office, and emergent or healthcare facilities. And this is very important for undocumented folks to know that yes, they can go get medical care and be safe, and not have to worry about getting picked up by immigration at one of these locations. Another resource that I do want to make sure we go through is being aware of fraud and false information. People are online, on Facebook, on different social media platforms all day, multiple times a day. And we are seeing a lot of fraudulent ads, a lot of fraudulent sales of, buy this vitamin and you'll be able to protect your immunity. And we just want to make sure that you are getting all of your information from trusted resources that are giving out the most accurate and current information regarding the coronavirus. And these places include the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, the World Health Organization, the WHO, or for Colorado specific information that you are going to the state of Colorado's COVID website. All of the links are here. They're also on the doc, the PDF, with all of the webinar links that we're talking about today. And following the recommendations from the CDC, like I've had plenty of tias telling me that I just need to be drinking my teas every single day and that I'll be fine. Again, making sure that we are following recommendations that are based in scientific fact, that have been proven to stop the spread of coronavirus. And these recommendations are straight from the CDC, and that we are getting all of these recommendations from the CDC, like washing your hands to prevent disease, avoiding touching your eyes, nose, mouth with unwashed hands, avoiding close contact with people who are sick, staying 6 feet away from others. And among those, there are plenty more that you can also find at the CDC website. They do have resources in Spanish for folks that want to get some of these recommendations around staying safe. So now I want to take us off of this PowerPoint for a quick minute. And I am going to go over to, let's see, I'll share my desktop with you all. I want to share with you statewide and by county resources. And you all have this link in the PDF that was shared with the Dropbox link. And it looks like this. It is the master list of resources for undocumented communities here in Colorado. We have plenty of, and almost a dozen contributors to this, of people that work for trusted organizations like the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition, like the Center for Health Progress, and among others. And so all of the resources that we have here, they go from statewide, going through general COVID information. We go through statewide food resources, health access, mental health access, employment, small business support, utilities, childcare, the latest on immigration, and some LGBTQ resources. And then we go down into counties and start listing out county resources. So we have Denver, we have Boulder County, among others on this list. There are a lot more, and we are updating this every single day as we get more and more. There are some that we have still yet to fully fill out, because there's just like a good number of resources to share out. And so some of the biggest hurdles is being able to verify that these resources are accessible to undocumented folks. And so the resources that you have here in this document are going to be resources that have been double checked, triple checked, to make sure that undocumented people can access these resources. And we have them here in English, but then we also have them in Spanish. They're similar counterparts, exact counterparts actually, and they just go link by link, information by information. And I do want to make sure that I mention that this master list is meant to house all of the resources for undocumented folks in the state. But this is a tool, an Excel sheet like this. If I gave it to my mom, if I sent my mom this link, it would be very hard for her to navigate through all of the columns and understanding what is nearest to her. And so this list is meant as a tool for organizers, community leaders that are connectors of this information to community, so that you can go in and find these resources easily. If you do want to share out this list of resources, we are importing all of this information to our allareWelcomeColorado.org microsite, where we are able to list them out in a text format, in something that is accessible to folks in desktop, on mobile. And so this is our All Are Welcome website, where we house resources for COVID-19. And we are adding these every single day. And if people have questions of a specific resource that they are looking for and they can't find it, tell them to check back soon, because we are adding all of these resources every single day. And again, these are verified resources that we have gone through. And even I have sat through and applied and made sure that at no point they're going to set up a barrier that an undocumented person can't get through. Again, these resources are also in Spanish. This website is meant to house resources, but not just resources. It has way more. It has stories about the detention center in Aurora. It has Know Your Rights resources. It has community resources, whether it's you're looking for an immigration attorney or you're looking for an organization that can help you set up an appointment to get a SB 251 license. And it also takes you to a place where if you want to take action, if you want to get more involved, that is something that is accessible to folks. So continuing with our Know Your Rights presentation, I'm gonna take us off sharing my desktop with you all, and then going back to this PowerPoint. I want to go over this Know Your Rights section. This will be our last section before we go into Q&A. I see there are plenty of questions being asked, and so I do want to make time to go through some of those questions. Again, you can find deeper information about knowing your rights. Our full Know Your Rights training is on the allareWelcomeCO.org website. And then before I go any further, I just do want to make a plug that next Tuesday, we will be doing a Know Your Rights, immigrant rights training through these webinars. And this Know Your Rights training is a newly revamped training. We've spoken to several community organizations, several community members of what they're experiencing, where they're encountering ICE. We've also taken new recommendations from different immigration attorneys as to how people should be responding in case they encounter ICE officials. And we have an entire list of resources that is long and comprehensive, and that is meant to not just help folks survive in the state, but to also thrive. We want to make sure that folks have the resources that they need, not just for survival, not just for protecting their families, but we want to make sure that folks are living their full lives and are experiencing liberation within Colorado and being able to move around the state with all of the freedoms that they should be feeling. So back to Know Your Rights. So join us next Tuesday if you can. We have a People Power link up if you would like to sign up for that webinar as well. And I would like to just start off that immigrants don't lose their constitutional rights during a pandemic. Going into this, we want to make sure that you understand what these rights are. First off, where they come from. And they come from the 14th Amendment that says that you are guaranteed equal protection under the law, and you are not to be discriminated against on accounts of nationality, country of origin, appearance, language, gender, age, disability, or creed or religion. So that is where they come from. You do not lose them. If you are a citizen, if you are not a citizen, you have these constitutional rights. And just because there is a pandemic happening right now doesn't mean that you are no longer protected by the Constitution. You are. And so under the Fifth Amendment, you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to answer any of the questions that an ICE agent is asking of you. If you choose to remain silent, say so out loud. I am going to remain silent. Under the Fourth Amendment, you have the right to know the charges that are being held against you and the reason why you are being detained, asking, have I done anything wrong? Under the Fourth Amendment, again, you are protected from random and arbitrary stops and searches. You have the right to not give consent to a search of your property, this being what's on your person, in your purse, in your backpack, in your car, in your house. That is your personal property. You have the right to not give consent to a search of your property. You have the right to be represented by a lawyer. In immigration court, it is different than in criminal court. In immigration court, it is a civil court. They will not appoint a lawyer for you. You will not get a free lawyer. You will have to hire a private attorney to have legal representation. You have the right to a translator. You can also request paperwork to be given to you in a language that you understand. And I want to just go over some of the basic Know Your Rights scenarios that people are most likely to encounter right now with the stay-at-home order. So if ICE stops you in public, make sure that you stay calm and you do not run. You always remember that you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to answer any questions. And this is important. ICE is going to come up to you and say, hey, is your name Anatemu? And you can say, I want to remain silent. We know that ICE is just coming up to folks and asking for their name. And if you verify that you are that person, they are not asking you any more questions. They're going to pick you up and take you to the detention center. And so before you answer any question whatsoever, make sure that you're using your right to remain silent, that you're using your right to speak to a lawyer. And if you are taken into custody, you have the right to immediately contact that lawyer. Show any valid immigration documents that you have with you. Do not sign anything before you speak to a lawyer. And now, if ICE pulls you over, if ICE or the police signal you to stop your car, you should do so. If immigration officials and the police, immigration officials and the police can ask for your name and your driver's license and your registration and your insurance, and you should show those documents if you have them. If you do, if you are being pulled over by ICE or the police, again, staying calm, not running, always remembering you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to answer any questions. You can refuse consent to a search of your car. If an agent wants to search your car, you have the right to give or refuse permission, but you should not interfere with their actions. You have the right to speak to a lawyer. Again, if you are detained, you have the right to contact your lawyer immediately. Please show any valid immigration documents you have with you. Show a valid driver's license, current insurance, and registration. And again, please do not sign anything before speaking to a lawyer. So I will stop there. And
Okay, great. Thank
yeah,
you so much. That was
thank you,
wonderful.
Delana.
I learned so much. I'm going to become an immigration lawyer now. No, that's a joke. But we do have some questions, so I'm going to read them. And folks, if you have additional questions, there is a box that says Q&A at the bottom of your screen, or at least at the bottom of the screen I got a picture of. But look for Q&A, type your question in, and we will read it out. And hopefully we'll get all your questions answered. And the first one is, can DACA minted folks, so I believe that is people who are on DACA, get a stimulus check even if their DACA expired about a year ago? Any resources for working class people to renew?
The part of the DACA being expired might make it really tricky, because I know that when your DACA expires, your social security number that is meant to just be for work purposes only, it's hard. We do have a lawyer. I'm using my lifeline, please.
You're using your lifeline. Let me see.
Yeah. And I do want to make sure that I did pull a lot of information from the National Immigration Legal Center, and they are able to answer a lot of the questions that you are seeking, because I know that some of the language that they are using is really hard to navigate. Like, they defined it as resident with a social security number, and that could mean a number of things. But I think that what they're leaning towards is the legal permanent residents that have social security numbers and citizens. But if we have Denise that knows the answer, it would be great to have her on.
Okay, Denise, if you know the answer, let me know. And we're going to move on to the next question and let Denise decide if this is in her lawyer wheelhouse. The next questions are, DMVs still open, and what is the protocol for people with expired ID?
So DMVs are not open right now. And they, I believe, weren't planning on opening until April 20th, but now with this extension of a statewide stay-at-home order until April 26th, I believe that they're going to extend the closing of the DMVs further. And what is the protocol for people with expired IDs? And I can personally speak to this because my driver's license expires April 9th. And I was so worried that I wasn't going to be able to renew my driver's license. But I was able to get a letter in the mail saying that my license had been extended through July 31st. And so if you still have a valid driver's license that you can renew without having to show proof of extended status, they will send you a letter in the mail saying that your license has been extended through X date. But if you are on like a DACA program where you need to show that you have been approved again for DACA in order to get your driver's license, you will need to wait until the DMV reopens again in order to show proof that you were readmitted into the DACA program before you can get a new driver's license.
Okay, and on the DACA question, we are going to actually ask our friends at an immigration law firm. So Anna will send that out in a later email.
Yes.
And also just a thing about DMV and things like that. A lot of those resources are available online now. So make sure to check online for anything you need to do. You might be able to do it online, but the next question is LEAP considered a public charge, which is an energy assistance, I believe, program.
Let me check on that. Because I believe that LEAP does have a Social Security requirement. And so I can follow up and make sure that it is not considered a public charge. And I don't want to speak without knowing the correct answer. So let me send something around after answering that question.
And I'm going to skip and go to the next question because the last question is a great plug for what you're doing tomorrow. Are there organizations that hopefully have funds for immigrant families to assist with rental housing assistance, or are there resources with rent that won't be a public charge for immigrant families?
So local organizations that are offering financial assistance resources that help with rent or housing or just getting groceries, those fall under some of the public charge questions that we had gone over earlier, where if it is life-saving food nutritional program, food banks, shelters, state and locally funded healthcares, and many more programs that are not included in the public charge test, I believe that those are not counted towards a public charge. And to answer that first part of the question, there are organizations, so far I know of one that is offering funds to immigrant families, and it is the Front Range Mutual Aid. And I will caveat that by saying that because they are the only organization or entity offering financial assistance, and it being the first of the month and people having already missed bill deadlines, they are being inundated by questions of or people needing money, financial assistance. And so I know that their cash flow is very limited right now. But there are also a large list of organizations, the ACLU of Colorado included, that is calling on different foundations and other philanthropy organizations to start a fund specifically for immigrant and undocumented families that will not be eligible for the CARES Act.
Okay. And there's a question, could the all or welcome page be made into an app? And we will check into that.
Ooh.
Isn't that a great idea? We like that. We'll get with our communications department. And the last question, well, the second to last question, an individual who has recently received a work permit about a month ago and has not used it to find work due to the pandemic, can they still apply for unemployment? That's a pretty specific question.
Yeah. Let's see. Who recently received a work permit. I'm not entirely sure on the requirements of the unemployment benefits, but I know that people are eligible for unemployment benefits when you've been paying into that program for a certain amount of time. And so a little bit of a unknown area, very specific. And again, I can look into it, and I can look through some of the unemployment criterias. So yeah, I will look into it.
And the great thing about this webinar software is it does allow us to record these questions in kind of like an Excel format, so we can go back and make sure they're all answered, you know, and talk to our friends who work for immigration law firms and other resources that we have. There is a message from Abby. Sister Carmen Community Center will help all East County residents, which is Louisville, Lafayette, Superior, Erie, Boulder County, with rent regardless of status. So that is a good one to make note of.
Oh, that is good. We do have Sister Carmen as part of our food banks. And so I will definitely make a note that they also offer rent assistance. So thank you so much, Abby.
And the last question that we have for the evening is, do you have this PowerPoint and resources in Spanish?
So with tonight's webinar being in English, I know that it creates a language barrier for the people that are directly affected, the people that we want to help. And so tomorrow, I will be doing a Facebook Live tomorrow, Wednesday, just for context for people that are watching this in the future. On Wednesday, April 8th, I will be making a Facebook Live video of the exact same content that we went over today in Spanish, and with a little bit more of an emphasis on where to find resources. So yes, the PowerPoint and the resources are available in Spanish, and I will send those out to this cohort after the Facebook Live is shared.
Okay, great. And I'm just gonna say, if anyone has any more questions to, oh, darn, okay, to let us know really quick. Oh, here comes another one. What is the Facebook page? Well, we will be showing that on the ACLU of Colorado Facebook page too. So we'll share it, as Anna is doing it, I believe, on your own personal Facebook page, correct?
Yes, on my own personal Facebook page. But then, like Delana said, we will be sharing it on the ACLU of Colorado Facebook page as well.
And then we will also be putting it on our Advocacy at Home webpage and on the allareWelcomeCO.org webpage after it's all completed. So there'll be many places where you'll be able to access that. And we will send a link to both this recording. I shouldn't say we, I should say Anna will send a link to both this recording and the Facebook page.
Yes.
Okay, this was wonderful.
And then let's see, there were some questions made in the chats.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Look.
and yes, you will be able to share it. It'll be a public Facebook Live. The ACLU will have it. The ACLU of Colorado will have it on their Facebook. And right now, I am shooting for an 11 o'clock start time for that Facebook Live. And so if you are on the socials, make sure that you follow ACLU of Colorado on Facebook and keep an eye out for any notifications from them.
We also have Angie telling us that Safe House Progressive Alliance for Nonviolence also offers assistance with rent, as well as legal advocacy and counseling support, regardless of status, to survivors of violence residing in Boulder County. That is a really great information. I know a lot of us are very worried about domestic violence survivors and people who are in those situations in this time of, you know, stay at home. Staying at home isn't great for everybody. So, all right. So on Thursday night, we will be doing another webinar at 6:30 p.m. It will be on the census, and we hope you will join us for that. I'm going to try and get the lovely information up really quick. The census is really important to all of our communities. It really, we really need to make sure that our hard to count communities, like immigrant communities, older communities, you know, even 20 somethings who tend to move around every 6 months, they really, really need to be in the census. So we will have a webinar. I think I'll just leave it like this. Can you see that, Anna, about the webinar on Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Joining us Thursday at 6:30.
Yes. So join us for that. The link is there, but we will also send out the link and the information that Anna is going to send out to us. And I just want to check for any more questions, and it looks like we're good. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up tonight. We hope to see you on Thursday night. And thank you, Anna, for all the wonderful information. And, you know, join us on allarewelcomeco.org for more information as we learn it. All right. Thanks, everyone.